Ever get that feeling, like you're just constantly trying to dodge digital bullets? The news is always full of these scary cyber attacks.
It's relentless.
Right. And you just want like a clear picture of how it all actually works, like a way to make sense of it. Well, you're in the right place. Today we're doing a deep dive into something called the cyber kill chain. It's a framework originally from Lockheed Martin.
That's right. Think of it as a map, really. A step-by-step breakdown of how a typical cyber intrusion unfolds.
Okay, a map. I like that.
Yeah. And our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to really unpack this framework. We want to understand each stage, look at how it plays out in, actual real-world hacks.
See it in action.
Exactly. And then explore how newer tech, especially AI, is shaking things up for both the attackers and hopefully for us defenders. We've got loads of info, the original model, some big breach analyses, and the latest on AI and cybersecurity.
Okay, let's get into it then. So, 7 stages in this cyber kill chain. Stage 1, reconnaissance. What's that all about?
Okay, so reconnaissance. This is basically the attacker's homework phase. They're scouting, identifying potential targets, gathering information.
Like a burglar checking out houses on a street.
Precisely. They're looking for anything useful, IP addresses, maybe the kind of network systems the target uses, even employee names, job titles, stuff like that.
Where do they find this information?
A lot of it is public, actually. We call it open source intelligence, or OSINT. Think company websites, social media profiles, news articles. Sometimes they might do some very light probing, maybe some initial phishing attempts just to gather intel.
Okay, so they're looking for cracks, weaknesses. How do we defend against this stage? What can you even do if they're just looking at public info?
Well, you can monitor your perimeter for unusual scanning activity. That's one thing. And training staff is huge, making them aware of what information they share online. Also, threat intelligence helps understanding who might target you and why. It's about minimizing your visible attack surface.
Right, kind of tidying up your digital front yard, so to speak. Okay, stage 2 is weaponization. Sounds like they're building something nasty.
That's exactly it. They take the intel from the reconnaissance stage and build their weapon. This usually means pairing some kind of malicious payload, like a remote access Trojan, a RAT.
RAT.
Yeah, it lets them control a system remotely. Or maybe an exploit, which targets a specific software flaw. They bundle this with a way to deliver it, like embedding it in a PDF document or a web link.
So they found a weak spot. Now they're crafting this specific tool to break in. What's the defense here?
Sandboxing is a really key technology at this point, especially advanced sandboxing.
What does that do?
It basically opens the suspicious file or link in a safe, isolated environment to see what it does. Does it try to connect to weird places? Encrypt files. Modern sandboxes use machine learning to spot malicious behavior, not just known malware signatures, so it can catch brand new stuff too.
Ah, okay. Like a bomb disposal box for digital threats. Clever. All right, stage 3, delivery. The weapon's built. Now they need to send it.
Yep. Got to get it to the target. And there are lots of ways. Phishing emails are probably the most common, emails with bad attachments or links.
We all get those.
Oh, yeah. But also things like infected USB drives left lying around, malicious websites that attack your browser, even infected online ads that's called malvertising.
Malvertising, huh?
Yeah.
Sneaky. So how do you stop the delivery?
Layers are key. Good email filtering systems are essential. Endpoint protection, antivirus, and similar tools on every computer and phone. And again, user education, making sure people know not to click strange links or open unexpected attachments.
Makes sense. Okay, the package is delivered. Stage 4, exploitation. Sounds like this is where the damage starts.
This is the moment of truth for the attacker, really. Their malicious code needs to actually run on the target's system.
How does that happen?
2 main ways. Either the code exploits a software vulnerability, a bug the attacker knows about that hasn't been fixed.
So patching systems is important.
Hugely important. Or the other way is tricking the user, getting them to click that link, run that file, enable macros in that document. That's the social engineering side.
Right. So it's either a technical break-in or convincing someone to open the door. Defense.
Patching. Keep everything up to date. And user awareness training, teaching people to spot those tricks. It really comes down to those 2 things for this stage.
Got it. Okay, they've exploited a weakness. Now, stage 5, installation. What's this?
So they're in, but they want to stay in. Installation is about establishing persistence. They install malware that lets them maintain access over time.
Like what?
Things like Trojans, backdoors, which are like hidden entrances they can use later, or keyloggers that secretly record everything you type, like passwords. They're basically setting up a hidden base inside the network.
How do you find these hidden bases?
This is where things like endpoint detection and response EDR systems come in. They monitor what's happening on computers for suspicious activity that looks like malware installing itself. Also, integrity checking, making sure core system files haven't been altered, and application whitelisting, which only allows approved software to run.
Okay, EDR. Good to know.
Yeah.
Stage 6, command and control, C2.
C2, yeah, or sometimes CNC. So the malware is installed, has persistence. Now the attacker needs to communicate with it.
Tell it what to do.
Exactly. Send commands, maybe receive stolen data back. And they want to do this secretly, so they often hide their communication inside normal-looking web traffic, like HTTPS, or even using DNS requests. It's called using covert channels.
Hiding in plain sight, basically. How do you spot that?
You need to monitor your network traffic, especially traffic going out of your network. Look for weird patterns, connections to unusual places. Analyzing DNS logs is also crucial. Advanced tools use behavioral analytics to spot communications that don't fit the normal pattern.
Okay, lots of monitoring needed there. Which brings us to the final stage. 7. Actions on objectives. The end game.
This is what the attacker came for. What they actually do once they have control, it really depends on their goal.
Like what?
Could be moving sideways through the network lateral movement to find more valuable systems or data. Could be stealing sensitive files, data exfiltration. Could be deploying ransomware to encrypt everything and demand money.
Or just destroying things.
Or pure destruction, yeah. Wiping systems, corrupting data, whatever their objective was when they started the whole chain.
And at this point, what can you do? Isn't it kind of too late?
You want to detect it as fast as possible to limit the damage. SIEM systems, security information, and event management are key here. They collect logs from everywhere and correlate events to spot the signs of an attack reaching its goal. Honeypots can help too.
Decoy systems.
Exactly. Lure the attacker in, see what they're doing, and crucially, you need an incident response plan. Know exactly what steps to take to contain the breach, kick the attacker out, and recover. Having that plan ready before it happens makes a huge difference.
Wow. Okay, breaking it down like that really helps clarify the whole process. It's not just one single event.
Not at all. It was a chain, a sequence. And you mentioned earlier, this isn't just theory, right? We see this pattern in real attacks.
Absolutely. The kill chain is a great lens for understanding major incidents.
Yeah.
Take the Target breach back in 2013. Huge news.
I remember that one. Millions of credit cards.
Yeah. The Reconnaissance. They targeted a third-party vendor, an HVAC company that worked with Target.
Fazio Mechanical, wasn't it?
That's the one. Weaponization and delivery involved phishing emails to Fazio employees. Exploitation. They stole Fazio's credentials to get into Target's network. The installation was putting memory-scraping malware on the point-of-sale systems, the cash registers.
Ah, so that's how they got the card numbers.
Right. C2 let them manage that malware, and Actions on Objectives was stealing, 70 million customer records and 40 million card numbers. A classic kill chain progression.
Chilling. And it started with the HVAC vendor? What about the Sony Pictures hack in 2014? That felt different, more destructive.
It was. Again, you see the stages, lots of reconnaissance, mapping Sony's network. Weaponization involved creating wiper malware designed just to destroy data and backdoors. Delivery was likely spear phishing. Exploitation used stolen admin passwords. Installation set up those backdoors. C2 went on for months, apparently.
Months. Wow.
Yeah. And then the actions on objectives. Massive data theft, releasing embarrassing emails, then wiping hard drives and demanding ransom. Very aggressive.
These are sobering examples. How about something more recent, like SolarWinds? That was a supply chain attack, wasn't it? More complex.
Hugely complex, but the kill chain still fits, just adapted. The reconnaissance was super sophisticated, targeting SolarWinds' actual software build process.
Right. They didn't attack the end users directly at first.
Exactly. Weaponization was injecting a backdoor, SONBST, into legitimate updates for SolarWinds Orion software. Delivery. Sending those poisoned updates out to thousands of organizations worldwide.
Around 18,000, I think?
Something like that, yeah. Exploitation happened when those organizations installed the update. Installation established persistence. The C2 is incredibly stealthy, using complex algorithms to hide. And the actions on objectives were very selective data theft from high-value targets among those 18,000 victims.
A multi-stage attack within an attack, almost.
Kind of, yeah. And then there was the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in 2021. shut down fuel supplies on the U.S. East Coast.
Another clear example. Reconnaissance probably looked for VPN issues, maybe reused passwords. Weaponization was crafting ransomware for their specific systems. Delivery exploitation was getting in via that VPN using stolen credentials.
Installation deployed the ransomware. C2 managed the encryption and ransom demand. Action on objective. Crippling fuel distribution until they paid, what, $4.4 million?
Yeah. Yep. And one more, the Twitter hack in 2020. And that was social engineering, wasn't it? Tricking employees.
It was, which shows the kill chain isn't just about malware. Reconnaissance involved figuring out Twitter's internal tools and who had access. Weaponization was crafting convincing phone phishing scripts, vishing.
Vishing, right. Voice phishing.
Delivery was calling employees and tricking them into giving up credentials. Exploitation was using those credentials to access admin tools. Installation wasn't malware, but gaining control of accounts was persistence of a sort. C2 was using those high-profile accounts.
Like Obama, Musk, Biden.
To push the action on objective, which was a crypto scam that pulled in over $100,000. So even a human-focused attack follows these steps.
It's striking how well the model holds up across different types of attacks. It really provides a structure. But you hinted earlier, the original model isn't perfect. It has limitations.
Yeah, that's fair. It was developed mainly thinking about attacks coming from outside, targeting the network edge. It doesn't always map perfectly to, say, insider threats.
Where the attacker's already inside.
Right. Or the really complex stuff attackers do after the initial breach, moving around deep inside the network. That's why people often use it with other frameworks.
Like MITRE, ATT, and CK.
Exactly. ATT and CK gives you a much more detailed list of specific tactics and techniques attackers use at each stage. Or the NIST cybersecurity framework for overall risk management. And the Diamond model, which looks at adversary, capability, infrastructure, victim.
So the kill chain is the big picture. And things like ATT and CK fill in the details.
Pretty much. And some people even talk about adding an 8th stage, monetization, how the attackers actually cash out. The point is, the kill chain is foundational, but you often layer other views on top.
That makes sense. It's a starting point. Now, speaking of evolving things, AI, artificial intelligence, how is that changing the game here? It feels like it could really disrupt this whole chain for defenders.
Oh, absolutely. AI is potentially a massive force multiplier for defense across the entire kill chain. A key idea is shifting left.
Shifting left,
meaning catching the attack earlier in the chain. Instead of waiting until stage 7, actions on objectives, can we use AI to stop it back at reconnaissance or weaponization before they even get in?
Okay, I like the sound of that. How does AI help with that early detection?
Well, think about AI-powered threat intelligence. These systems can constantly scan just enormous amounts of data, vulnerability databases, dark web forums, social media chatter, looking for signs of upcoming attacks, potential targets, new tools attackers are developing.
Well, like an early warning system.
Exactly. An AI early warning system that can spot indicators of compromise before the attack fully launches. It helps you anticipate.
That's powerful. What about once an attack is underway? Can AI spot it better than traditional tools?
That's where AI's knack for anomaly detection and behavioral analysis comes in. Machine learning can build a baseline of what's normal for your network, your users, your systems.
Learning the pattern of everyday activity.
Right. And then it can spot tiny deviations from that pattern that might signal an attack, even brand new attacks, 0 days, that don't have a known signature. Those AI-driven sandboxes we mentioned, they're looking at behavior, not just matching known bad files.
So it can see novel threats just because they act suspiciously, not because it recognizes them?
Precisely. It's looking for malicious intent based on actions. And AI doesn't stop at detection. It's also huge for automating the response.
How so?
Once AI detects something bad, it can trigger automatic actions. Isolate the infected machine from the network, block the malicious connection, disable the compromised user account, maybe even push out a necessary patch.
Faster than a human could react.
Much faster. And that speed drastically reduces the attacker's dwell time, how long they get to hang out inside your network causing trouble. Less dwell time means less damage.
Okay, faster detection, automated response. And I assume these AI systems get smarter over time.
Definitely. That's the beauty of machine learning. They learn from every new threat they see, from the results of the responses they take. There's a feedback loop that constantly refines the algorithms. They adapt as the attackers adapt.
So the defense keeps improving. You also mentioned prediction earlier.
Yeah, predictive analytics. By analyzing past attacks, current threats, and your specific setup, your vulnerabilities, your assets. AI can start to forecast where you're most likely to be hit next or what kind of attack might be coming. It helps you prioritize your defenses proactively.
Wow. So AI really touches every single stage then. Can we quickly recap that? AI's impact on each of the 7 stages.
Sure. Reconnaissance, AI spots, unusual scanning, data gathering attempts,
Yeah.
weaponization. AI analyzes files for malicious code patterns, even predicts payload behavior. Delivery. AI spots sophisticated phishing, bad links, malicious attachments better than old filters. Exploitation. AI sees the anomalous system behavior when an exploit runs. Installation. AI detects unauthorized software install, attempts to create persistence. Command and control. AI monitors network traffic for those hidden C2 communication channels.
Got it.
And actions on objectives. AI helps automate containment, stops data theft faster, limits ransomware spread, speeds up recovery.
It really does span the whole chain. It feels like it's shifting the balance, maybe tipping it slightly back towards the defenders.
That's the hope, isn't it?
Oh.
Using intelligence and automation to get ahead. So yeah, the cyber kill chain, it's still incredibly valuable. A great way to visualize how attacks happen.
Understanding the stages helps you think strategically about where to put your defenses.
Exactly. And now layering AI on top offers this potential for a much more proactive, much more intelligent defense against these threats at every single step.
It's an exciting and necessary evolution in security.
Absolutely. It's been fascinating breaking this down. Now, for you listening, here's something to think about. Looking at those 7 stages, reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, C2, actions on objectives, which stage feels like the weakest link for you or your organization right now? Where might you be most vulnerable? And thinking about that, what's one concrete proactive step you could take, maybe starting today, to strengthen that specific stage, perhaps even considering how some of these AI-driven tools or approaches could help bolster that weak point? It's definitely something worth pondering in the world we live in today.